Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, as reported by Inner City Press. The federal courthouse in Manhattan had witnessed many dramatic moments during the Sean Diddy Combs trial, but nothing quite prepared the room for the entrance of Jennifer Lopez on Friday morning. The global superstar actress and businesswoman entered with the poise that had defined her decades-long career, but those who knew her could see the weight of long-buried memories in her eyes. Dressed in an elegant cream-colored blazer with her hair styled in a sleek low bun, Jennifer moved with purpose toward the witness stand. The gallery, packed with reporters and observers, fell into complete silence as she was sworn in. When she spoke her name for the record, her voice carried the strength that had made her an icon, but also a vulnerability that hinted at the pain she was about to reveal. "Jennifer Lynn Lopez," she said clearly, then added softly, "though I suppose some people still remember me as Jenny from the block." Prosecutor Lisa Rodriguez approached with evident respect for the witness. "Ms. Lopez, thank you for your courage in appearing before this court today. Could you please tell us about your relationship with the defendant, Sean Combs?" Jennifer took a deep breath, her hands folded carefully in her lap. "Sean and I were in a romantic relationship from 1999 to 2001. What the public saw was a glamorous couple attending red carpets and industry events. What they didn't see was the control, the manipulation, and ultimately the terror that relationship became. How did your relationship with Mr. Combs begin?" "We met through industry connections when my music career was taking off. Sean was at the height of his power. Bad Boy Records was dominant, he was producing hits, and he had this magnetic charisma that drew people in. When someone that successful shows interest in you, it feels like validation of everything you've worked for." "What were the early stages of your relationship like?" "At first it was intoxicating. Sean had a way of making you feel like you were the center of his universe. He would shower me with attention, expensive gifts, and opportunities. He introduced me to important people, helped elevate my profile in the industry. I felt protected and cherished." "When did this dynamic begin to change?" Jennifer's voice tightened slightly. "Gradually, but the signs were there early if I had known how to recognize them. Sean began making decisions about my career without consulting me. He would tell my team what projects I should or shouldn't take. He started controlling who I could be friends with, which events I could attend alone." "Termernani, can you give us a specific example of this controlling behavior?" "In 2000, I was offered a role in a film that I was excited about. When Sean found out, he told me I couldn't take it because the shooting schedule would interfere with our time together. When I tried to discuss it with him, he said, 'Jenny, you need to understand that our relationship is your priority now. Everything else is secondary.'" "How did you respond to statements like that?" "At the time, I internalized it as love and commitment. Sean had a way of making his control seem romantic, like he cared so much about me that he needed to be involved in every aspect of my life. I was young and didn't recognize the red flags." Prosecutor Rodriguez moved closer to the witness stand. "Ms. Lopez, beyond professional control, did Mr. Combs attempt to control other aspects of your life?" "Everything. What I wore, how I styled my hair, which friends I could see, even how I interacted with my own family. He said he was protecting my image and helping me become the best version of myself. But really, he was isolating me from everyone who might have helped me see what was happening." "Did this isolation extend to your personal safety and security?" Jennifer nodded, her composure beginning to crack. "Sean insisted on providing my security team. At first, I thought it was sweet he wanted to make sure I was safe. But I gradually realized that these weren't just bodyguards protecting me from outside threats. They were monitoring me, reporting my activities back to Sean." "What do you mean by monitoring?" "If I went anywhere without Sean's explicit permission, he would know about it within hours. If I had conversations he didn't approve of, he would confront me about the details. I felt like I was living under surveillance, but it was disguised as love and protection." "Ms. Lopez, did there come a time when Mr. Combs' behavior escalated beyond psychological control?" Jennifer's hands began to tremble slightly. "Yes. As our relationship progressed, especially when I started asserting more independence, Sean's need for control became more aggressive. He would have explosive outbursts when things didn't go his way." "Can you describe one of these incidents?" In late 2000, I attended a charity event without him because he was traveling. It was a completely innocent professional obligation. When I got home, Sean was waiting for me furious. He accused me of trying to disrespect him publicly and said I was embarrassing him by acting single. What happened during this confrontation? Jennifer closed her eyes for a moment, gathering strength. He grabbed me by the shoulders and slammed me against the wall. He said, "You belong to me, Jenny. When you disrespect me, you disrespect yourself." I had never seen him that physically aggressive before, and I was terrified. Did this physical aggression continue? It escalated. Sean had this way of apologizing afterward that made me feel like I had provoked him, like I needed to be more careful about how my actions affected him. But the incidents became more frequent and more violent. Ms. Lopez, what was the turning point that made you realize you needed to leave this relationship? Jennifer's voice dropped to almost a whisper. December 27th, 2000. I will never forget that date. Sean had been drinking at a party we attended together, and he was in one of his possessive moods. When we got back to his penthouse, he said he wanted to show me something special. What did he show you? He led me to a room I had never seen before. It was hidden behind a bookshelf in his home office. Inside, there were monitors, recording equipment, and filing cabinets full of what he called his insurance policies. The courtroom was completely silent, hanging on every word. What were these insurance policies? Videos, photos, and audio recordings of people in compromising situations. Sean showed me footage of industry executives, politicians, other celebrities, all in situations that would destroy their careers and reputations if made public. Did these recordings include footage of you? Jennifer nodded, tears now flowing freely. Yes, there were intimate moments from our relationship that I never knew were being recorded. But worse than that, there were recordings from that charity event I mentioned. Sean had somehow obtained surveillance footage of my interactions with other men at the event, and he had been analyzing them for signs of what he called betrayal. How did you react to discovering this? I was horrified and terrified. I realized that our entire relationship had been a performance that Sean was directing and recording for his own purposes. When I told him I was uncomfortable with what he had shown me, he said, "Everyone needs motivation to make good choices, Jenny. This just helps people remember their priorities." What happened next? That's when I knew I had to leave. Not just the relationship, but that apartment that night. I told Sean I needed some air and was going for a walk. Instead, I called my security team, my real security team, not the ones Sean had assigned, and told them to meet me at a predetermined location. You left that night. I left everything behind except my purse and my phone. I had my team take me to a hotel, and I never went back to that apartment. I knew that if I stayed, I would either lose myself completely or something much worse would happen. How did Mr. Combs react to your departure? He was furious. For weeks, he called, constantly showed up at places where he knew I would be sent messages through mutual friends. He alternated between promising to change and threatening to expose me if I didn't come back. Did he make specific threats? He said he had enough recorded material to destroy my reputation and my family's reputation if I ever spoke publicly about our relationship. He said the footage would show me in situations that would make me unemployable in family-friendly entertainment. Were you afraid of these threats? Absolutely. Sean Combs had the power to end careers, and I had seen him do it to others. For years after our breakup, I lived in fear that any perceived slight would result in him releasing private moments from our relationship. The prosecutor approached with a tablet. Ms. Lopez, I'm showing you text messages that were recovered from Mr. Combs's phone. Do you recognize the number these were sent to? Jennifer looked at the screen and nodded. That's my number from 2001. Could you read the message dated March 3rd, 2001? Jennifer's voice shook as she read, "Jay, you can run from me, but you can't run from what we shared. Everyone in this industry knows we belong together. Keep playing games and see how long your wholesome image lasts when people see who you really are behind closed doors." How did you interpret this message? As a direct threat to release intimate recordings of me if I didn't return to the relationship. Did Mr. Combs ever follow through on these threats? Not directly, but I believe he was behind several negative stories about me that appeared in tabloids over the years. Stories that contained details about my personal life that only someone very close to me could have known. Ms. Lopez, how did this experience affect your subsequent relationships and career choices? It changed everything about how I approach partnerships, both personal and professional. I became extremely protective of my privacy, sometimes to the point of paranoia. I insisted on controlling my own security, my own contracts, my own image, because I never wanted to be that vulnerable again. Did you ever consider coming forward publicly about your experience with Mr. Combs? Many times. But Sean was so powerful, and I was building my career in multiple industries, music, film business. I convinced myself that staying silent was protecting not just me, but my family, my children, and everyone who depended on my success. During cross-examination, defense attorney Robert Chen attempted to discredit Jennifer's testimony, but his approach only reinforced her credibility. Ms. Lopez, you've had several high-profile relationships since Mr. Combs. Isn't it possible that you're projecting issues from other relationships onto your time with my client? Jennifer's response was firm and measured. Sir, I've been in healthy relationships since Sean, and the difference is stark. Healthy love doesn't require surveillance. Healthy love doesn't use fear as motivation. What I experienced with Sean Combs was not love, it was ownership. You mentioned recordings and surveillance. Do you have any evidence of these alleged activities? I left everything behind that night in December 2000. I was more concerned with my safety than with gathering evidence. But the fear those recordings created controlled my life for years afterward. Ms. Lopez, haven't you publicly spoken positively about Mr. Combs in interviews over the years? Yes, because I was afraid of retaliation. When you know someone has the power to destroy you, you smile and say nice things about them in public. That's survival, not truth. As the cross-examination concluded, Jennifer asked if she could make a statement to the court. Judge Patricia Williams granted permission. Your Honor, I want to be clear about why I'm here today. I'm not here for revenge or publicity. I'm here because I spent 23 years carrying the secret of what Sean Combs really is, and I can't carry it anymore. She turned to address the gallery, which included several young women in the entertainment industry. To the young women starting their careers, trust your instincts. If someone's love feels like control, it's not love. If someone's protection feels like imprisonment, you're not being protected. And to the men in positions of power, we're done being silent about your abuse of that power. Finally, she looked directly at Diddy, who had remained motionless throughout her testimony. Sean, you stole 2 years of my life and 23 years of my peace of mind. You made me afraid of my own truth. But I survived, I thrived. And now everyone knows exactly who you are, behind the charm and the success. Boy, as Jennifer left the witness stand, the courtroom remained silent for several moments. Then slowly applause began from the gallery first, from the women present, then spreading throughout the room until even some court officers were clapping. Outside the courthouse, Jennifer released a brief statement. Today was about reclaiming my voice and my truth. No one should have to carry the burden of someone else's abuse in silence. I hope my testimony helps other survivors find their courage to speak. The impact of Jennifer's testimony was immediate and profound. Within hours, Huang's Jayla broke her silence, was trending globally, and survivor advocacy groups reported a significant increase in calls to their hotlines. More significantly, 2 major entertainment companies announced within 24 hours that they would be implementing new policies to prevent the kind of surveillance and control Jennifer had described, and several prominent men in the industry released statements acknowledging the need for systemic change. That evening, Jennifer posted a simple message on social media. The truth isn't always easy, but it's always powerful. Today I chose power over fear. Disclaimer. The content above is entirely fictional and created for entertainment purposes only. No verified court evidence or official statements confirm these claims.